Hey you guys, so in today's video we are going to talk about 5 reasons why you may want to do a 2019 makeup no buy. I do quickly want to address the fact that I personally hate the word should. Don't should on me. Pretty much if anyone tells me something I should do, there's a 98% chance that I'm just going to tune out anything that follows that word. It's one of my least favorite words in the world. If you're not looking for advice, or if you're completely happy with your shopping habits, or you just have no negative relationship with the beauty community or your bank account or whatever, then this obviously doesn't apply to you, and I'm not here to dictate what you should do. I guess I just don't think anything bad can happen from examining things that over time some of us may kind of come to consider very normal. So in no particular order, let's just get this party started. So the first reason that you may want to go on a no buy is that makeup and self-esteem have kind of become one thing to you. They're interchangeable. You can't have one without the other. This is really why the beauty industry is able to exist at all and why it has for so long. Literally the same reason that brands and makeup companies have faces of their products, or in some cases a figure or celebrity that is synonymous with like the idealized version of female beauty, begin to like launch their own products. Kim and Kylie are very good examples of that. They're able to do what they do and market this to you because the idea is you kind of think, if I buy a Kim Kardashian contour kit, I will possess the ability to look like Kim Kardashian, and if I look like Kim Kardashian, I'm more worthy of love, I'm more socially acceptable, and this is the version of myself that I want to present to the world as a result. This is something you can definitely see, especially if you were a kid in the 80s or 90s, when you kind of think about like princess culture and the way that they kind of create storybook characters for girls, and their beauty is almost always the defining and most important aspect of that character's personality, or kind of what makes them worthy of going on this journey with them at all. Snow White is pretty much entirely about the fetishizing of female beauty. These messages start with us at a very young age, and social media has made it so much more easy to equate beauty with success and happiness, because 9 times out of 10 if you're following someone on Instagram that has 1 million or more subscribers, they are conventionally beautiful people. The brain starts to assume you have to be beautiful to have what you want. Then you think, I need to buy things to make myself worthy of what I want. Commoditizing female beauty is big business. Products that are being sold to you are here to fix anything that is getting in your way of being beautiful. Whether it's tightening your skin, plumping up your skin, making it glowier, making your lashes longer, or your lips pouty. Sometimes they're there to correct problems I didn't even know we had. Like, I didn't know until I was around 24, 25 that I wasn't supposed to have visible pores. Like, these are things that we just have. We're human. I feel like there was a meme going around 2014 and 2015 or something that said, I would have never known when I was younger that eyebrows would be so important to me. And that's because we didn't know there was anything wrong with our eyebrows for the longest time. My main point is that there is a very fine line between wanting to feel your best, which, don't get me wrong, a lot of times when I do my makeup and hair, I stand a little taller and I sissy that walk just a little bit harder. But it took until my late 20s to understand that that's not the same thing as loving myself. If you're a little bit more in line and in love with yourself, it will make it a little bit harder for companies to sell you on the idea that you need to buy something to become loved by others. And that's one reason to go on no buy, is if you're noticing that it makes you kind of like, if you feel like you need this stuff to be lovable or worthy or goals AF or whatever. Number 2, you are in debt over buying makeup. And I don't really feel like I need to elaborate on this one much, but I will. Trust me, I have absolutely been there. It's probably got a lot to do with the fact that I had really poor financial habits for pretty much all of my 20s. I don't remember growing up being kind of talked to about financial health. That could have a lot to do with the fact that we were very broke when I was young, and maybe that is why when I got older and I had my own money, I was so like, with it because I finally could buy stuff that I wanted. I used to be friends with a lot of guys. I have a lot of girlfriends, but I was very close with a lot of dudes for a long time. And there was something about my male friends that I noticed pretty much consistently that I never really saw with my female friends. And that was that my male friends spoke very frankly and consistently about money in a different way than women do or did. They talked a lot about saving and investing and planning for the future and credit scores and interest rates. I don't want to go too into depth onto why I think this has a lot to do with gender norms, although I think that's pretty clear. As men, they are kind of raised to believe that it's their job to financially provide. I think that they naturally are inclined to learn about that if they're not very, very involved in that discussion in their family dynamic from a young age, in a way that I don't know personally a lot of women, at least my age, that grew up that way. But yeah, those differences in the way men and women can approach finances, or at least the way that stereotypically we kind of have these beliefs about money, still to this day are pretty shocking to me. Why in 2019 are we as women still allowing the cosmetic industry to sell us this idea of unattainable perfection at the expense of our own financial health? I mean, I know there's nothing sexy about the word budget, and that you don't see like your favorite Instagram models recommending or singing high praise for their current financial advisors or anything like that. But I honestly believe not only that does need to change, but I think it's already starting to change, and we just need to be more cognizant of what we're doing with our money and how certain companies and brands are able to fetishize an idea of consumerism as being like the end all be all to happiness, as opposed to actual stability and security, which is something no one can ever take away from you once you've established it. Your concealers are gonna go bad. It should be a pretty easy decision. I would highly recommend you guys check out a channel called The Financial Diet. I will link them down below in my description box. Started watching this channel about a year ago. I think it's a very modern, very fresh, insightful, entertaining, educational approach to understanding your money and having a good relationship with money, and having a very, very clear understanding of what motivates your spending habits. I know all of us women are entirely too smart to be going into debt over lip gloss. I just think, like everything else on this list, it's something we take for granted and maybe don't assess as much. The number 3 reason that you may need to go on a 2019 makeup no buy is that buying makeup no longer feels like a choice. This is something I have heard alcoholics say as kind of like the turning point for when they realized they had a problem. It did not feel like a choice anymore. When you are literally doing something because you have to or need to, instead of the deliberate and conscious decision to do so, you have a problem in any capacity, no matter what the thing is. That thing is running the show and you are no longer in the driver's seat. You know what I'm saying? This reason does kind of piggyback on top of reason 1. This reason has a lot more to do with the fact that the act of buying makeup is easing some kind of anxiety that you have. If you are using shopping and buying makeup as a coping mechanism for symptoms that are very clearly that of depression or anxiety, then you probably have some kind of shopping addiction. Shopping addictions are process addictions. Process addictions are addictions to things other than like drugs and alcohol, which basically your body becomes like chemically dependent on. A good way to know if you have an actual shopping addiction is start noticing your patterns and your habits around shopping. The first stage might be that you are actively and pretty consistently looking for things to buy. So like if you are subscribed to pages like Hot Fire Makeup or Trend Mood, or you're watching a lot of heavy consumer-based makeup YouTubers, then unfortunately you're just kind of setting yourself up for failure as far as that's concerned. So that's a habit you need to break if you want to end this problem. The next stage is usually finding the thing and then literally kind of obsessing over why you need the thing. Then you finally buy the thing, which is kind of like the peak of the high that you're going to experience in your kind of process that you go through. Typically what happens is you get the thing, you enjoy that feeling for a very small amount of time, and then you're back down again. So you're kind of doing this all the time. In some cases you might also immediately feel a sense of shame or remorse over the fact that you have spent the money. That was definitely the case towards the end of my compulsive shopping days. Like I would buy something and it was weird, like I would be happy to have it for a little while, but then the predominant emotion that I was experiencing was full-blown just like, I guess buyer's remorse is what you would call it. I just didn't feel good about the purchase anymore pretty much immediately after getting it. Like I said, my brain was just kind of going on this little roller coaster ride that it took me a while to realize was happening, and even longer to realize that it was a choice I was making and I could get off. I gotta circle back to what I said about using shopping as a way to deal with negative emotions, especially ones associated with anxiety or depression. Another really serious reason to take a step back and look at why you're doing what you're doing. Shopping addiction is a lot more common than you think, and because in some sense we kind of have to shop as like people living in Western society, it may seem like unless you're in full-blown financial crisis or in legal trouble over your shopping habit, that it's not that big of a deal. It might be something that's considered normal for all intents and purposes. And in my opinion, that is not only untrue, what's normal anyway. You really do need to look at the reasons that you are buying things. And then also know that there is no real happiness to come from acquiring possession and getting another thing. Happiness doesn't look like this. It kind of looks a little bit more like this. Your level of happiness needs to be dependent on what's in here and what's in here, because all this stuff out here you have no control over and can change any time. So like I said, definitely be taking an assessment about why you're buying what you're buying and really what emotion doing that is stirring up within you. Are those emotions healthy, and are you numbing yourself from dealing with things that are substantially more important than Chrissy Teigen's new highlighter palette? The number 4 reason that you may need to go on a no buy is that you haven't even made a dent in the stuff that you already have. This was actually one of the biggest wake-up calls for me. 2018 I did like 2 bigger makeup hauls, and those are just the ones that I filmed. It's far from all that I bought like in general, but I can tell you that in some cases I use some of those products only once. I might as well have gone into Sephora, handed the clerk $50, walked over to the little tester section, swiped on a lipstick, and walked out. It's basically the same thing. And the crazy thing, like I've mentioned in this video several times, makeup has a shelf life. Makeup in some cases, if you don't use it all up in the next 6 to 8 months, you have basically wasted that money because you risk it going bad and therefore causing reactions, and in some cases, depending on the product, it can lead to infections of the area that you apply it to, like eye products and even lipsticks. Makeup products turn at different rates, and mascara is the one that like tends to turn the fastest, that you're gonna have to keep an eye on. And then you have things like powder products, you know, eyeshadows, pigments, blushes, bronzers. Those tend to take a lot longer to turn, and I personally have never been in a situation where any of my powdered products have turned, but even that in itself is still a problem, because even after my last makeup purge that I showed in my video I just posted, I still have about 15, probably more bronzers. There's a very good chance there's a good bit more than that. Pretty much no chance that I'll even still be able to get through all of it before it goes bad, because I just don't wear bronzer every day. Things like foundations and concealers and primers, which tend to be the hardest things to find and then holy grail status them, so to speak, are kind of worse. If you buy a foundation and you don't love it, the obvious thing to do is return it. I personally never return makeup even if I don't like it for some godforsaken reason, and just end up buying something else that I think is gonna work better. Even worse, never being satisfied with your complexion or your complexion product because you just are convinced there just has to be something out there that will make you look better, and it's a hamster wheel you will stay on forever of just constantly trying to improve your physical form no matter what. See item 1 of this video. I've had people come to my house and see the amount of makeup that I own. They're just like totally in awe of it. They'll tell me how jealous of it they are and how lucky I am, and like in the bigger sense of the word, yes, I'm lucky because I have this stuff and I have clothes on my back and I have food in my belly and I have water to drink and a roof over my head and a family that I love. But honestly, it kind of feels like, or it was starting to feel like I should say, my stuff was starting to own me. It's a visible and constant reminder of the amount of money I have spent that I can never really get like the return on investment with, just based on the sheer amount of it that I own at this point. Number 5, you're doing it for the gram. I don't know why I had to say it like that, but you're doing it for Instagram or YouTube, as it were. I actually touched on this phenomenon a little bit in my first anti-haul video that I posted in like 2016. I'll leave a link down below. And I've just seen this kind of expand and become more of an issue as time's gone by. We live in a culture where brands are able to get us to buy their stuff, so we will show that we bought their stuff. Beauty beauty influencers of a certain caliber are millionaires many times over. And in a society where your image and your car and your bankroll, what purses you have are enough to convince people that you're actually happy, it can be very aspirational to have the same career path as some of these people do. Never mind that it's been said by actual famous people that having all the money, wealth, and success in the world is not actually what makes you happy. I think Jim Carrey famously said, and I quote, "I think everybody should get rich and famous and do everything they have ever dreamed of so they can see that it's not the answer." This kind of like anyone can get insta famous mentality, especially in the beauty industry, is exactly what fuels the beauty industry to be what it is. Most people, and I do mean 98.9% of them, who post makeup selfies, not just selfies, we're gonna call them makeup selfies, that are focused truly on like their artistry and what they've like got going on their face, tag the brands in the photo, and also link in the description box of that photo what they're wearing on their face, from what brand, what colors, and what palette. The goal being that they will share your picture on their account that has 5 million followers to your 500 followers, and then you will grow. So Benefit launches a new highlighter and everyone's buying it and everyone's posting it on social media, and then Benefit's taking those pictures and they're putting them on their Instagram, they're putting it in their Instagram stories, they're putting it on their Facebook, they're putting it on Twitter, and in that way Benefit is getting free advertising and like basically tons of customer endorsements for free that you just paid $35 to give them. They're gonna talk about that highlighter for about a month until the next thing comes out, and then that's the thing they're gonna push and everyone else is gonna tag. Like, do you see this thing that's happening? I mean, they rarely do this with their older products. Don't see Urban Decay, or I didn't see Urban Decay doing that with the original Naked palette, for example, even before they killed it off and then resurrected it shortly thereafter. Like, who didn't see that coming? When I say doing it for the gram is a bad thing, I don't mean that you shouldn't feel like you can post your makeup artistry, that it's a bad thing to do that, to share your talent or your creative outlet with your social media platform. That's not what I'm saying. But if you find yourself in a situation where you think you need to own certain collections and products on the hope that using them will somehow grow your following through the brand using images that pad their pockets, like not a good idea. Not fair either, but definitely not good. Alright guys, that is the end of this video. The 5 reasons that you should I know I don't want to say that word, but I don't know the 5 reasons you might want to go on a no buy. If one or more of these things apply to you, I am not necessarily trying to urge you to make any decisions today. I think I said at least once in the video, nothing bad will come from assessing why we do the things that we do, especially when it comes to compulsive, unnecessary, unadulterated consumerism. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Check the down bar for links to all my social media platforms. Whew! I gotta go. Catch you next time.